Welcome to another deep dive. We're plunging headfirst into a really compelling piece of writing you've shared with us, uh, a story excerpt titled Gingham Bride.
And this isn't, your typical source like a news article or anything like that. It's narrative. It
No.
gives us this glimpse into the lives, the hardships of these characters in a very specific setting.
Exactly. So our mission here is to really unpack just this excerpt. We want to understand the characters, the difficult situation they're in, and sort of trace the surprising turns their story takes, based only on what the text tells us.
Right. It's about seeing what insights we can pull out about their world, their choices, and maybe these unexpected connections that form, out of pretty desperate times.
Okay, let's dive in. So right away, we're dropped into Fiona's world, and it's just filled with this immediate, visceral fear.
Yeah, she's lost her horse, Flanagan, in this terrible snowstorm, but that's almost just the surface problem, isn't it?
It really is. The deeper terror is what's waiting at home.
Absolutely. The text is very clear about her fear of her father, his anger, the potential violence. It's chilling.
There are those lines like, the strap would remain, untouched and unused, but only if she fixes things quickly.
And that other one, she feared for her friends. There was no telling what Paul might do. It shows his anger isn't just directed at her, it spills over. It's a constant threat.
And you see this sharp contrast between that fear and her friends, right? Kate's stubborn gentleness, Leela's mischief.
Yeah, Early's family too, even though they don't have much, they're willing to help. There's this genuine warmth there, this community.
But Fiona feels like she just can't accept it.
No, she's completely isolated. The text says some things were too painful, and she knows her parents would just come and get her anyway.
Plus, even the local sheriff is one of her dad's buddies. There's really no escape route for her.
None at all. She's trapped.
So, finding Flanagan, it's not just about the horse. It's her only way, really, to avoid that immediate punishment. That desperation is what drives her.
And that drive leads directly to the next big moment, the unexpected encounter.
Right, we shift perspective. We meet Ian.
And his focus is totally different initially. He's traveling, thinking about his dying grandmother, how to make a living, practical stuff.
He seems responsible, you know, raised to respect elders, but even he notices that mean tone in O'Rourke's voice pretty fast.
He does. And the way O'Rourke introduces the situation,
Mm.
it's awful, bringing Ian over to look her over real good.
Like a horse sale, the text says. It's so dehumanizing.
And Ian's expecting the worst, right? Because of that introduction, he thinks she'll be homely and pocked, just someone desperate to get married off.
Which makes that moment he actually sees her so striking. She's out in the snow singing a Christmas carol.
Born the king of angels, and it completely shatters his expectations.
His reaction is involuntary, isn't it? That line, let us adore him, slipped out. It's like this moment of unexpected connection, of grace amidst the harshness.
Totally unexpected, and of course that startles the horse. Flanagan runs off, and Fiona confronts him.
But instead of finding the girl he imagined, he's just astonished by her appearance.
Yeah, the description is very idealized. Sheer perfection, heart-shaped face, sculpted cheekbones, softest mouth, all of it.
He even thinks she could stop the snow from falling if she smiled. It's a really strong contrast to the setting and his initial mindset.
It is, and that moment really changes everything. It sets him on this path of following her tracks into the blizzard.
The description of the landscape there is interesting too. That stark, lonely beauty compared to his home in Kentucky. It emphasizes how far out of his element he is.
Meanwhile, Fiona's just consumed by fear. Fear of the beating to come.
Yeah, she's regretting not being more careful, should have realized something was amiss. Her focus is all on avoiding punishment back home.
But then Ian catches Flanagan, and the way he does it is key.
Right, Fiona notices he's skilled with the lasso, but more importantly,
No harsh words, no whip. Unlike, as the text implies, as Dom would have done, it's a deliberate contrast in methods, gentleness versus brutality.
he's described as towering over her, this big presence, but his words are simple, tame enough.
That difference between his appearance and his actions is really significant.
And it leads to that scene in the barn. It's dark, they're alone, a stranger.
Very vulnerable situation for her. He offers her a foot up onto Flanagan, just a simple gesture.
She declines, says the horse is tired, and then he makes that slightly flirtatious comment.
I'm sure a beauty such as you can tame the beast. A little bit of charm there.
But in the dark, her senses are heightened. She notices the scent of soap and clean male skin, his masculine presence.
And when he takes her cold hands to warm them, it's a shock. Shock muted her.
Unexpected, intimate, but the text stresses it's somehow not threatening when it should be.
That should be says everything about her past experiences, doesn't it?
It really does. Maybe the first time a man's touch hasn't equaled immediate fear for her.
And when he lights the lantern, she sees his face properly. Young, rock-solid jawline, rugged, muscled arms. Definitely not one of her father's crowd.
She realizes he's not who she thought. Which leads to the big question. How does he know her father?
He admits he doesn't know him personally, just heard tales. But then the reveal.
He knows her name, and I know who you are, Fiona O'Rourke.
Boom. Her reaction is physical terror, that terrible roaring in her ears, feeling like a lasso were tightening around her neck.
Her dreams cracked apart because the name McPherson, it clicks. Betrothal arrangement. Suddenly, her father's actions, Ian's presence, it all makes a horrifying kind of sense.
And that throws us right into the middle of the O'Rourke household, the awful dinner scene. Ian's observing everything.
The house itself is shabby, spare, tells you about their financial situation.
And the atmosphere, just silence, broken only by eating sounds. Mrs. O'Rourke is this faded woman, head down, eating mechanically, like she's just shut down.
Mr. O'Rourke has that persistent frown.
Yeah.
The meal is basic beans, potatoes, salt pork, necessity.
And O'Rourke's conversation is all business. The marriage bargain made long ago, how binding is it? It's purely a transaction for him.
Ian's watching Fiona through all this. How does she react?
She completely shuts him out, avoids looking at him, stares at her plate, picks at her food. She looks 100 miles away. Face like stone, personality veiled. Total withdrawal.
But Ian sees more, doesn't he? With his artistic eye.
Yeah, his fingers itch to sketch her. He sees the physical beauty, sculpted from ivory, pure blue eyes. But he also senses something deeper, that spirit and heart that was lovelier yet. He sees her as a person, not just, the subject of a deal.
Which O'Rourke totally misses. He sounds smug, tells Fiona to clear the table, ask Ian about cards, and then the strap comes out.
Just horrifying. In front of a guest, he's ready to punish her, saying, "I'll make this look like a Sunday picnic."
But Ian reacts instantly. Catches the strap midair. His palm burns, but he stops him.
A purely protective instinct. O'Rourke just mumbles angrily.
And Ian uses that moment. If you want me to consider marrying the girl...
Fiona's reaction. Total shock. Marry. She wasn't yet 18. And just immediate resistance, trusting a man with her life is the last thing she wished for, understandably.
O'Rourke lays out the terms, coldly. $600 for the girl.
And adds those awful insults. No prize. Trouble follows that girl. But she can be taught. Like she's livestock he can break.
Ian's stomach sours. He gets the full picture of O'Rourke's cruelty now, how easily he'd hurt Fiona, and he sees her listening from the shadows, that flash of red gingham.
Then Ian drops his own bombshell. He doesn't have the $600. He was hoping to bargain for the land instead.
O'Rourke, seeing no cash, just shuts it down. Tell your grandmother the arrangement is off.
Yeah.
End of story. Or so it seems.
Fiona sighs in relief from the doorway, a small sound, but significant.
And Ian. He's disappointed about the land, but maybe the text hints something more, too.
Yeah, it leaves that question hanging. Fiona, though, she's just left with her father's words echoing, "If McPherson won't take her, there's others who will."
She realizes just how desperate her parents are, facing eviction after losing the harvest. It explains their urgency, but doesn't excuse the cruelty.
No, not at all. But this whole mess, ironically, leads to that first real moment of connection out in the storm later.
Ian finds her outside. He sees she's heart-weary, offers comfort, gently eases her hood down, brushes off snow. Small gestures, but kind.
And Fiona, she just cuts right to it, asks him directly, "Are you still considering marrying me?"
His honesty is striking. He says, not anymore, but then he admits he was drawn to her right away, seeing her like snow-speckled poetry. It wasn't just pity, he says. Not that simple.
He even admits he hopes she might feel something about the betrothal, too, which is quite vulnerable.
Her reaction is interesting amusement. Calls his honesty a terrible flaw. It's like his candor surprises her, maybe disarms her a little.
It seems to. And it hits him hard. He feels sucker punched. His hand reaches out almost on its own to touch her cheek. He's clearly fascinated by her soft as a spring blossom, fine silk hair.
She pulls back from the intensity, though, focuses on his injured hand. How is your hand? Practical concern.
Takes his wrist. And that metaphor feeling like being held captive by a butterfly, she connects it to Flanagan, how the horse must feel, caught between her and freedom. It's her starting to see constraint from another's perspective.
They have that little bit of banter then. She calls him tough guy, insists on fixing his hand.
And Ian's thoughts are all over the place. He feels foolish sitting there, but he savors the sight of her. He notices the change, the withdrawn and pale girl is gone.
Wants to sketch her again, capture that fairy tale quality, but also the real cat at her ankles.
But then that sense of duty pulls at him, his grandmother's voice in his head. Marry the girl and you have property. He thinks about her desperation, selling her wedding ring. He starts questioning the real cost of this deal.
The conversation continues in the barn, that space becoming a sort of neutral ground. She asks why he came.
His answer is simple, honest. Because my grandmother is dying and I could not say no. Unspoken wishes remain, though.
Fiona's blunt again.
I overheard you. You're penniless.
He confirms it, feels bad for maybe making things worse for her. But her quiet, I will be all right, shows that deep resilience she has. Independence born of hardship.
He knows things have shifted, though. She cannot look at your parents the same way after tonight. That trust is broken.
And as she stitches his hand, he's just captivated. Her small, slender hands, the gentle touch like liquid gold. The pain is nothing compared to her closeness.
And she thanks him for his act of mercy, stopping her father. It's a moment of quiet gratitude between them.
That quiet moment opens the door to deeper things, doesn't it? Hidden dreams, old wounds.
Yeah, as Fiona finishes with his hand, she has that sudden realization about why her father was so desperate now. Homeless by month's end, it clicks.
She sees the full picture of their financial desperation and Ian coming all the way from Kentucky, penniless. She sees it as a huge sacrifice he made just to be there, try and uphold the deal.
They talk about work, how tough things are, both just grateful for any work I can get. And Ian notices her extra sewing basket. He figures out she's working secretly for wages after supper.
Because without her brother, she's essentially on her own, needing to earn her way to something better. It highlights her drive.
That lantern light becomes important again. When it flares up, bathing Ian in that orange gold glow, it feels like a blessing to Fiona, touches her deeply, makes her feel not alone, the barn, his presence. It's becoming a refuge.
He reminds her the deal is off, she's free to marry someone else. But then he asks about her dreams, family, kids.
And that's when she shares that profound hurt about her childhood prayers, praying for her family to be healed, for kindness, for affection.
And how it did not work. Which leads to her core fear, that devastating question. If God's love is not strong enough,
Oh.
how could a mere man's be?
It's heartbreaking. And Ian, true to form, doesn't offer easy answers, admits it's a puzzle I can't answer, but holds on to his faith that God will make it right in the end.
Fiona contrasts herself with her friends, their hope chests filled with dreams of marriage. She doesn't have one. Doubt she even has enough belief for that. Her life has stripped that away.
As she slips out of the barn, the text says she's trying to outrun the kindness she felt from him. It's unsettling for her, that unexpected gentleness. It challenges everything she thought she knew about men.
The next morning, you can feel that connection, that tension, still lingering. Ian's doing chores, but thinking of her.
Yeah, even talking to the cow about her. I am not Fiona, and sorry I'm for it. His hand hurts, a physical reminder.
When Fiona appears in the barn, she's described as this slip of the shadow, smelling of snowflakes and roses. Delicate.
And his reaction is strong. Why such a strong reaction, like a bind to his heart? He tries to push it down, stick to his plan about the land.
But then they share these painful histories. Ian talks about losing his family's land, but the real loss was the memories tied to it. His mother's cookies, grandmother's piano, his grandfather.
Emotional anchors. And Fiona's response is so profound. She tells him he's rich. To have had a family who loved you and memories has to be the greatest wealth.
That completely reframes Ian's perspective on his own life. He suddenly sees his Nana's kindness, his secure childhood, his grandfather's lessons. He sees that as wealth compared to Fiona's loveless life. It's a huge shift for him.
She offers to tend his hand again. Practical care. Notices his freckles.
And he feels it again. She affected him. Her gentleness had touched him now.
What he does next is really telling. He leaves two things for her in the barn. His grandmother's locket.
And his drawing of her.
Fiona finds them later. The locket is the symbol of the old promise, the arrangement. But the drawing, that's different.
She remembers his kindness, how he saved her.
Yeah.
But the drawing shows more than just her appearance. It captures her spirit of freedom, the unseen prairie, her spirit's longing.
She feels like almost as if he understood. That feeling of being seen, truly understood through his art, is incredibly powerful for her.
So powerful, it makes her reconsider everything. Her plan to run away west. She almost changes it, thinks about going where he might be headed, Landover County.
Yeah, that connection is becoming undeniable.
Her last thought as she leaves the barn that morning is crucial. Ian could ruin her plans for the future. His kindness, her feelings, they're a threat to her planned escape.
And just then, that threat becomes very real in another form. Mr. Newton arrives.
Right after she gets home, her parents keep her busy, she misses the train, and then this stranger shows up. The man from town with the red sleigh, Newton.
Her father orders her to stable the horse. That familiar, chilling dynamic. Fiona feels that cold promise in his voice. Fear floods back.
The train whistle mocks her lost chance. She assumes Newton is another potential husband, thinks he's too old, realizes again how desperate her parents must be, but she still plans to leave tomorrow from school.
But Newton doesn't wait. He follows her to the barn.
And reveals his actual intentions. Not marriage. His last gal runoff. He needs someone to cook and clean and keep him warm. Just a replacement worker and bed warmer.
It's brutal. He grabs for her. She pulls away. Even the animals sense the danger.
She grabs a pitchfork. Self-defense. Newton's face twists with rage. It's escalating fast.
And then, bam, the barn door slams open.
Her father's there, angry with the sheriff and Ian.
O'Rourke's surprised. McPherson, what are you doing here?
Ian doesn't hesitate. Makes that stunning public declaration. I've reconsidered the offer. Fiona's my fiancée from this moment on. Just like that. Changes everything.
His internal thought shows it was calculated. He heard her gasp, ignored his fear she'd hate him for it. He wanted to stop Newton and give her time to hide her escape money. He's thinking steps ahead, protecting her.
And Fiona's reaction. It's a storm inside her.
Yeah.
Shock, confusion, gratitude, and intense hatred.
Yeah, how could she feel so much gratitude and hate him even more? It's completely contradictory.
Because her immediate thought is betrayal, right? He was just pretending kindness, charming her, all to get the land he couldn't afford.
Exactly. Wasn't that a man for you? Her past trauma just rushes in and confirms her worst fears about men, applying them now to Ian.
Her parents make it worse. They blame her. Her mother calls her thoughtless, selfish, says she attacked Newton and cost them their home. Can't stand the sight of you, just awful, no support.
So Fiona's completely isolated again, and torn, because parts of her do remember Ian's real kindness. His touch, his protection against Newton.
She feels confused, angry, and used, and needing his tenderness again. It's a mess. She even misinterprets his promise about keeping her safe. She thinks the forced engagement is him breaking that promise by forcing marriage on her.
That inner conflict boils over at dinner later. Her anger towards Ian is like a dagger's blade. She wants to throw things, rewind time to before she trusted him even a little.
Meanwhile, O'Rourke is just being cruel, even about his wife Maeve getting slow. Don't know why I keep her. Shows the baseline lack of respect in that house.
Ian feels Fiona's anger acutely. He's arguing with himself she will understand, but fears the damage had been done. He feels too involved, too invested.
Seeing her bruised face from her father earlier just destroyed him. He desperately wants to fix it, but her rejection is total.
O'Rourke is bitter about the new deal, too. He lost the potentially richer Newton deal because of Ian's interference. He sees Ian as a low-life varmint.
He has to settle for whatever Ian's offering now, which seems less than the $600 or maybe just Ian's labor. But he wants control. He says he's learned it's better to take matters in your own hands. That sounds ominous.
Ian refuses the card game, O'Rourke's version of hospitality. His focus is on Fiona, even though she won't look at him. He's careful not to show his true feelings, worried O'Rourke will exploit them.
Fiona overhears her parents later. Maeve doesn't like the deal, but O'Rourke points out they keep the house and get Ian Strong back to work. It's the best offer since Fiona cost us a good opportunity by running Newton off.
That seals it for Fiona. She has to run. She starts packing again. But there's that reminder if Ian hadn't shown up when he did. Newton.
So later that night, she tries to leave, and Ian finds her in the barn. Again.
He knows immediately what she's doing, sees the satchel, knows she's going for her running away money in the loft.
She's still so conflicted, torn apart, confused by his sincerity, lured by his affection, but convinced he's untrustworthy.
She gets her money box, relieved it's safe, her little bit of independence, and inside, she finds his drawing again.
Seeing that representation of her spirit's longing, that sense of him understanding her, it gives her pause. It complicates her anger.
So she makes him an offer based on her assumption he just wants the land. You stay here with the land and I'll go where I please. A pragmatic solution, she thinks.
But Ian challenges her directly. Is that what you think? That I am using you to get the land? Forces her to confront it.
And then he reveals the truth. The game changer. He already paid for the land. With his grandmother's money. He has a legal contract. He doesn't need to marry her for the land at all.
He explains he did it for her, paid the back payment so her family wouldn't lose the house, so that you won't lose your home come month's end.
And then the full weight of the sacrifice comes out. O'Rourke's final demand, replaying in Ian's mind, marry her, take on the burden of supporting her, or find another ranch. He couldn't just buy the land. O'Rourke forced him to take responsibility for Fiona, too.
And Ian chose her. He agreed to support her, even though O'Rourke called her a burden, using his grandmother's money for the land and agreeing to this condition, all to protect Fiona.
He confirms he pawned nearly everything he owned to come back for her, out of love. The forced engagement was just a shield, he explains, to stop Newton, to stop anyone else from hurting her.
He insists she must stay with him now, for her safety. You must stay with me, lass. He physically prevents her from leaving, showing he means the protection, even if she misunderstands.
But she does misunderstand. She's overwhelmed, chokes back a sob, feels pure agony, and calls him a much more horrible man than I thought, because she sees control, not sacrifice.
And Ian is just devastated by her hatred, feeling defenseless against it. It's a terrible misunderstanding.
So they're in this incredibly awkward, tense place, navigating public appearances like church on Sunday. Ian drives her and her mother.
Maeve is still cold, refusing his hand. But Fiona starts to see things differently. She feels shame for how she treated him, notices his quiet patience despite the cold, her mother's rudeness.
There's that detail about Flanagan, too. The horse is changing, calmer around Ian. Fiona thinks Ian was changing things, changing her.
At church, their friends immediately jump to the romantic conclusion. Courting couples, your beau, true love. They're just happy for her, seeing a fairy tale ending.
Which makes Fiona feel like a miserable fraud. She drops Ian's hand, steps away. This isn't romance for her. It's a complicated obligation.
Ian gets it. He accepts their interpretation because they wanted Fiona happy. But internally, he looks into his heart and sees Fiona. His feelings are real.
During the service, Fiona's distracted. Friends whispers, Ian's presence like a mammoth unwanted mountain behind her. The idea of love still feels ridiculous to her. Afterwards, Ian gently asks if she's all right. She's totally flustered. Brain was still oatmeal.
He waits, then asks practically if she wants to stay for tree decorating. Can't help decorate if you leave. Grounded. Simple.
And that simple kindness causes another shift in Fiona. She sees him not as the villain, but as simply a kind man, faithful, someone who does what's right. A wisp of admiration appears.
He gives her a quarter, says he'll come back if you want me to. Her hesitant, tolerable response is huge for her. As he leaves, she feels his wounds, realizes she likes him very much. The thaw is real.
It continues at the tree decorating. Her friends keep pushing the fairy tale narrative, love triumphant, frustrating Fiona, who still sees an arranged marriage, snaps a thread in frustration.
Ian joins in, seems to relax, enjoys the simple community feel. He feels he's made friends. He's touched when Fiona hopes he won't be alone.
He notices her snowflake ornaments, sees a fading bruise on her face, and reaffirms that internal vow. It would be the last time. Protection is still paramount for him.
In the prayer circle, she holds his hand tightly. He consciously tries not to pray for what he wants most, or love, maybe, focusing instead on peace for others.
He shares those happy Christmas memories, a stark contrast to her likely experience. Hope's home will be welcoming for her.
He tells her directly how she affects him. She makes him feel, draws him in, has changed him. He struggles to let her hand go. His parting comment about being kinder to the poor young men who have lost their hearts to you is a playful hint at his own feelings. Maybe Lorenzo's too.
Fiona brushes it off as politeness, but can't stop thinking about him. Through the week, friends talk about Lorenzo being sad, but Fiona's distracted, missing Ian. It made no sense logically, but the feeling is there. The upcoming end-of-school party feels significant, bittersweet.
These small moments are building something real, leading to that key moment with the wool and the coat. Fiona goes to the dress shop, gets paid for her sewing.
And then she does something significant, asks about heavy wool, buys black wool, enough for a man's coat.
It's directly tied to her realization of his sacrifice. Her internal thought is clear. Ian had sacrificed Duchess's foal for her, a foal he loved. Sewing the coat is the right thing. It's her tangible response to his intangible gift.
The barn, her former sanctuary, now feels different, a reminder of the cost.
Then Ian arrives at the shop. Her reaction is intense. His step is meaningful. The sun brightens. Tenderness stirred within her, reverent and sweet. She tries to deny it, but knows it's much more than friendship.
He's easygoing, jokes about Flanagan, normalcy.
In the sled, he's concerned for her warmth. Simple care.
Their conversation reveals the trust built. He says she knows him too well, implies he'll always rescue her. I will always be here when you need me.
And her quiet, I know, confirms it. Carries that sweetness he felt soul deep.
And then his confession, I care for you too, lass, just bursts out like an avalanche. No hiding it now.
But back home, her mother is still suspicious, disapproving. Warns Fiona men only pretend kindness. Ian is out for himself, as all men are.
Fiona sees through it now, though, knows it's her parents' frustration because Ian's changing things, taking away their control over her.
The full picture of Ian's sacrifice really crystallizes later. He's working late, referencing in the cold. Industrious. Fiona brings him supper.
She notes his hard work. He accepts the food, moved by her thoughtfulness. His chest felt wrenched apart. And it's then, in his thoughts, we get the explicit replay of O'Rourke's final, cruel demand. Marry her, take on the burden of supporting her, or lose the land deal entirely. Even after paying for the land, this was the extra price.
And Ian chose Fiona. Agreed to support her personally, took on that burden because he loved her and needed her to be safe.
Which brings us to Christmas Eve, the climax in the barn.
Fiona feels out of place at the party, longs for the barn, now a complex space. She's sewing the coat, knowing it's the right thing because of his sacrifice the foal. She sees her friends as her real family.
She arrives at the barn. Ian feels her presence intensely tug, sweetness of first love, brightness of hope. She is the perfect twilight because she walks through it. Beautiful imagery.
Ian confirms the final truth. He told O'Rourke, there will be no marriage. The public engagement served its purpose. It's done.
He tells Fiona she and Flanagan are free, and then the last piece of the puzzle, he paid her father for Flanagan.
Using the money meant for his own future, his mare's.
Fiona's stunned. Flanagan, her lip trembles. But your wages were to go for your mares. She understands the magnitude of giving up his own dream, his livelihood, for her horse, for her freedom from her father.
He confirms it, gave up the mares for her. Couldn't leave unless he knew she was safe and well. It was purely out of love.
He admits he can't offer wealth, a mansion, contrasting his gift with O'Rourke's $600 price tag. But his love, proven by sacrifice, is the greatest gift.
And Fiona finally accepts it, sees the truth of his actions, his love. She voices her own simple dream, a little house someday with a happy family, and declares his love is the greatest of all riches.
Their hearts and souls as one. A connection built not on a bargain, but on sacrifice, understanding, and a completely redefined idea of wealth.
Wow. Yeah, what a journey through just that excerpt, from Fiona's initial fear and total desperation.
Trapped by her family, by a system seeing her as just, property.
To this unexpected encounter with Ian, a man whose kindness and integrity, and ultimately his willingness to sacrifice everything for her, just completely dismantles her defenses.
It really throws those different perspectives into sharp relief, doesn't it? Her friends see romance, her parents see a transaction, Newton sees labor.
But Ian sees her spirit, her longing, her worth, and he shows it through his actions, not just words or art.
And that fundamentally changes Fiona. She learns that freedom isn't just running away alone, and real wealth isn't money or land.
It's found in unexpected places, right?
Yeah.
In connection, safety, belonging, things built on sacrifice and being truly seen.
Absolutely. Which leaves you thinking, doesn't it, about what wealth really means. In a world often focused on the material, this story pushes back.
It really asks you to consider, what's the greatest wealth? Is it the stuff you can buy and sell? Or is it something else, that sacrificial love, that deep connection that can actually set you free in ways money never could?